it's still a little easier said than done sometimes. But
how about you, Kevin? Did you get more than 100 phone calls?
You know, I didn't get that many this time, so I think we were lucky in my district. I don't know. I usually get, usually Lake Daughter and a few other areas, but it wasn't too bad last night. So we must have been very fortunate.
Yep.
Councilmember Appel,
yes, ma'am.
did you drive around your flooded district today?
Oh yes. We did a nice little survey of the aftermath. I mean, it got pretty real over here.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah. A neighbor of mine had a rain gauge and recorded 8 inches in just a couple hours, which is just incredible. But
yeah, I think it was every bit of 6, and depending on how low you were, it felt like 10.
Yeah,
and
it's just tough. I mean, when we've got high tides and a lot of rain in a short period of time, it's just tough.
Yep,
it's a real tough situation. But we'll see.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Probably not. I'll probably be in Creek here Wednesday.
Hey, come here, bud.
You may be.
All right, howdy everyone.
Hi, Mayor.
Mayor?
We made it through another week. And,
Yes.
A little wetter than before.
a little what?
Wetter.
Yes. A little wetter than before, yes. We've reminded that our other existential threat is still real. That's for sure. So I think it's 5:30 plus. So I know it's been a long week, and we'll move right along here. If we could get started, Madam Clerk, would you like to call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Del Chapo.
Here.
Councilmember Shealy.
Here.
Councilmember Saccharin. Councilmember Mitchell. Councilmember Brady. Okay. Councilmember Gregory. Councilmember Waring. Councilmember Seekings.
Here.
Councilmember Shade.
Present.
Councilmember Griffin.
He's here.
Okay.
Here. Sorry.
Councilmember Appel.
Here.
Councilwoman Jackson.
Here.
Mayor Tecklenburg.
Here. Thank you.
I'll go back and see if some of the other people have joined. Councilmember Saccharin. Councilmember Mitchell. Councilmember Brady. Councilmember Gregory. Councilmember Waring.
I see Gregory's name. He's on.
Okay, I can't see.
Yeah, I see his name. He must be with us, but maybe he
Okay.
can't unmute.
Maybe he's muted.
Okay.
Okay, so
I am,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
I unmuted his number. I don't know if he can hear us or not.
Okay.
yes, I see his name now.
All right. Well, hopefully he'll join us in a minute. Councilmember Shade, would you open us with a prayer, please?
Yes, sir. If you give me just 1 second, Mayor, I had a prayer in mind and
Yes, sir.
excuse me. Well, let's find that next time. Almighty Father, we ask you for your grace and blessing upon all of us who are involved in doing the will of your citizens, the people of Charleston. Grant us wisdom and courage. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. So thank you all. It's been a busy week, lots going on, and I might mention a couple things after Shannon's report and your questions or comments that you might have closing out this week. But let me call on Shannon Scaff, our Emergency Management Director, for our report. Shannon.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's been a busy 24 hours, as you all were discussing before the meeting started here. Obviously, a lot of efforts in the last 12 hours or so to recover from the heavy rain event yesterday. Let me give you the incident command objectives remain the same as previously discussed. Again, just a reminder, the 6th and new objective: assist citizens with housing instabilities to achieve stable housing prior to the onset of hurricane season while minimizing the transmission risks of COVID-19. Internationally, there have been 2.7 million COVID-19 cases and 195,313 deaths as of 3:30, according to Johns Hopkins today. There have been 886,213 in the United States, with 50,780 deaths. In South Carolina, according to DHEC, at 5:25 today, there were 5,070 cases statewide, with 157 confirmed deaths. In Charleston County, we're at 416 cases with 6 confirmed deaths, and Berkeley County's got 162 cases with 6 confirmed deaths. Dr. Richardson with DHEC stated during her brief today that DHEC is finding super spreader events such as funerals and church services are contributing to additional new cases. Dr. Crawford from MUSC reports that serological testing for COVID-19 antibodies will begin this coming Monday, April 27th, with an initial capability of processing approximately 500 tests per day. Priority will be given to healthcare workers and first responders, with plans to extend availability to municipalities and the general public as MUSC works to expand their testing capabilities to approximately 1,000 per day, which we would expect sometime in mid-May. Patients may initiate the process through MUSC's telehealth program. The Coast Guard is reporting that Carnival Sunshine cruise ship departed and is en route Bahamas, where it's going to stay indefinitely. Charleston County EMD, South Carolina EMD sent revisions to DHEC on an agreement for a non-congregate sheltering for COVID-19 vulnerable populations and their family members. We're awaiting DHEC's feedback on that. In terms of keeping order in the city, Charleston Police Department responded to 4 calls for service regarding large crowds or gatherings in the last 48 hours. and 120 total since March 16th. Police Department notes that call volume is averaging lower than normal and continues to closely monitor calls for domestic violence, assault, suicide, and overdose incidents, and reports a small increase in assault call types. Police Department is currently working closely with Livability to educate the public on the latest ordinances and guidelines. Fire Department was dispatched or responded to 36 possible COVID-19 calls in the last 48 hours. There was a large surge in call volume yesterday, of course, due to the severe weather. However, medical call volume remains low. Since Wednesday, Livability and tourism officers conducted 153 proactive inspections that include 40 construction sites and 113 non-essential businesses for operating compliance. There were 2 non-essential businesses found in violation, one of which was issued a warning while the other received a summons. For code enforcement complaints, there were 78 reports total that include 0 complaints for non-essential businesses operating and 8 social distancing reports. To date, 513 storm drains have been inspected, and Livability is assisting in cleaning about 369 of them. Today, 37 collection apparatus were in operation and continue to focus on completing unfinished routes. Crews also work to collect yard and leaf bags in West Ashley. As of this morning, 80% of all yard debris and 40% of bulk item collection is completed citywide. Livability continues to work closely with Public Works to assist with garbage can pickup and delivery. There are currently no issues with police or fire lacking PPE. In fact, another order was just put in for 20,000 more surgical masks. So we're in relatively good shape there. In terms of preserving the workforce, with 1,254 employees accounted for and 15 of 15 departments reporting, we've got mainly the same numbers that you're used to: 36% in the office, 12% working from home, 32% in the field, and the rest remain on some type of leave. Calls to the Citizen Services Desk on Thursday continued to average 200 calls per day, with missed trash collection continuing to be a commonly expressed concern in addition to storm drain work. In terms of openings, closings, Charleston Area Convention and Visitors Bureau on Thursday reported 26 hotels in the city of Charleston and 53 open hotels in the Charleston area. On Monday, April 27th, airmen from the 169th Fighter Wing will execute Operation American Resolve that will consist of 3 F-16 fighter jets conducting a flyover above MUSC and Roper downtown hospitals sometime in between 11:45 and noon, in a show of thanks and support to those fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. I mentioned the 20,000 surgical masks. Tomorrow, there will be 4 street sweepers, continuing work through close of business tomorrow, hitting West Ashley, the peninsula, and areas of James Island. Pending your questions, that's all I have for you this evening.
That's a good bit. Any questions for Shannon? Well, thank you for that report. Shannon has mentioned now 2 days in a row. I just want to elaborate on one point, that we've added an objective and officially repeat that housing objective for me, Shannon.
Yes, sir. Let's see. Assist citizens with housing instabilities to achieve stable housing prior to the onset of hurricane season, while minimizing the transmission risk of COVID-19.
Thank you. So Gianna Shaw Johnson and Chris Jardin, our homelessness coordinator, have put together a plan working with 180 and other service providers to utilize some of the CDBG funds that we got for low-income individuals, so that our goal will be over the next couple of months to, almost like what the city did after Tent City Initiative, to try to move as many of those experiencing homelessness into some kind of shelter, some kind of apartment, or some kind of home, and providing, but really focusing on those individuals who are who are apt to, who want to move up, who want a hand up, so to speak. And so they worked out a protocol with 180 Place to kind of reopen and utilize their positions there. And they'll have a little more detail for y'all on Tuesday as we approve that CDBG budget. In addition, they're recommending quite a few of those dollars to go to a few of our agencies. The one that comes to my mind is Palmetto Community Action Agency, that they have a fund that, and it's all set up already, so we're not reinventing the wheel, to help those who might become homeless because they can't pay their rent. And so we kind of expect an increase in those kind of requests over the next 30 to 60 days. So both in trying to house those who are currently homeless and then support those couple of programs that we know about that help prevent people from entering homelessness. That's fulfilling that new objective that we have. And then on top of that, I wanted to let y'all know, and we had Mayor Haney and I had a little press conference this afternoon pushing our Homeless to Hope Fund, which is run by the Palmetto Project, but was really started by the Mayor's Commission on Homelessness. Rather than have a concert this year, we're going to have a telethon and a virtual thing on Facebook. This will be on May 8th. We've already garnered $125,000 in donations for the fund this year, which we won't have very much expense because we're not having a real live concert. But all the musicians, including Shovels and Ropes and some other local great musicians, will be online, virtual, making recordings. And so on May 8th, we plan to have this telethon and raise some more money. So if you add the CDBG and the new objectives and then the support of the Homeless to Hope Fund, we really hope over the next 2 to 3 months to address those who are experiencing homelessness in our city and community. So I just thought I would mention that to everyone. And then the second thing I know we've talked about this before, and I think Charleston County is sending out something on their social media soon, if they hadn't done so already, is that Charleston County is a little behind the national average in folks replying to the census. So, and I see Tracy's online. I bet she's got some kind of something that she could send to all of our council members and ask y'all to share with your networks and with your own social media, your email blasts or whatever outreach y'all are doing, to urge our citizens to make sure everybody responds to the census. It's time to do that. And then lastly, I did want to shout out to the statistic that Shannon mentioned about the storm drains. And Tracy, do you mind taking a minute and just sharing what Robert and Dan Riccio and others have been working on about the storm drains? I know we had this huge rainfall last night, and you might not recognize that some extra people have been out cleaning the storm drains, but they have. Unfortunately, when you get 4 or 5 inches of rain in about an hour and a half period of time, you know, the system just can't handle it. But we really are working on maintaining and cleaning the system as we can while we got people that got a little more time on their hands. Tracy?
Sure. So I just happened to pull this up as you were speaking, so I thought I would share this little dashboard. As the mayor mentioned, the livability team, some of those folks have been out inspecting storm drains. around the city and cleaning those as needed. So they've actually inspected 475 different storm drains this week. So they're doing a great job with that. And this is a dashboard that was built by the GIS team to monitor that. So all of the livability folks who are doing storm drain work have an app, either on a tablet or a phone. So they just select the storm drain that they're at, determine whether it needs cleaning or not, and log the information right there while they're there. And they clean it if it's needed. And they're actually going to go out after yesterday's rain. They're going to go out and look at some of those that they've already cleaned to see if they need cleaning again. So hopefully we can start to collect some data that'll allow us to be a lot more proactive about how we clean and monitor some of these storm drains around the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And yes, I'll be more than happy to send everybody something that they can share within their network about the census, taking the US Census. So happy to do that.
All right. Any
Mr. Mayor?
questions about any of that? Councilmember Jackson, then Shade.
Thank you. I wanted to go back a couple of topics when you were talking about our new goal number 6, stable housing, and all of the good work that everybody's been doing more than brainstorming, actually taking action on. So bless you and thank you for all of that. Maybe I've missed it, but I really haven't heard the anything about the navigation center recently. Did we close them during our emergency, or what are they able to do for people who, can come in off the street?
Oh, they've been, business has been booming at the
That's what I
navigation.
thought. I just hadn't heard any, reports about their activities. So.
I mean, to tell you the truth, 180 has not been accepting any new clients
Right.
for the last few weeks because of the trepidation, the fear that someone might have the virus. So part of what we're doing with Chris's and Gianna's effort is to, before we were isolating and testing individuals who were symptomatic, but next week we're going to start isolating and testing folks who are on the waiting list for 180 so that they can go ahead and accept those individuals and kind of get the process working again. So, I mean, right now there's 15 beds or so, I understand, available at 180. And, we got people on the waiting list. So we're going to try to get those folks tested, whether they're symptomatic or not, just to make sure they're not contagious and kind of get, so most of those people have been going to the navigation center basically every day to get some relief and service or get a shower or whatever. They've been busy as all get out.
That's great to hear. I mean, I sort of assumed that, but I just really hadn't heard the words. So I'm really glad to know. And while I have my hand up, could I just ask, Shannon touched on the livability and the public safety officers going around and trying to help the businesses acclimate to the change in our guidelines for if they are open, everything that they need to do to meet our safety precautions. And I was just hoping we could hear a little update from, either Chief Reynolds or Mr. Riccio, I see him on, as to how are they finding cooperation among the retailers? We had a lot of pushback from some of the retail association leaders, not necessarily individual businesses, that we were going to be asking the impossible of our smaller retailers. So I just wanted to hear if that is playing out, or, I'm expecting that everyone's bending over backwards to be responsive.
Dan or Chief, y'all want to step in?
I'm here, Mayor.
Yes,
Yes, everyone's been very compliant. We have been to many, many businesses to offer our information. We have handouts that we're giving the businesses. And so far, honestly, like any business, they want to do the right thing. They want to comply and they want to keep their employees and the customers safe. So far, so good. It's going very well in my mind. I've got officers out through the weekend, so we're available to continue what we have started. And again, so far, so good.
So are we seeing like sort of a gradual increase in who's open and who's still closed, or is it?
It's very gradual, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's not a boom that I expected. I expected this big rush, but I think, and I equated, I've talked to Mark Wilbert and Rick Giroux earlier, the governor with the exemptions that were offered, kind of peppered, if you will, pardon the whatever the lingo, it was peppering these businesses in. And that's why I did not see that trend of a big influx. But we're here and ready to educate the businesses as we get going. I know it will increase as everything, as the businesses start to open. But so far, it's been very manageable.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Shade.
Thank you. This is for Tracy. You still with us?
Yes.
Yeah. So Tracy, I didn't catch, how did these folks, or how did it come about that you were able to pinpoint these particular drains and ditches on the peninsula? How was that determined?
Yeah, so actually, years ago, the mayor had this wonderful idea to create this Adopt a Drain program. And so the GIS team incorporated into the GIS data all the storm drains throughout the whole city. And so we have all those actually mapped out, and that's what we're using as the base for that.
So this was storm drains that were cleaned out on the peninsula.
Yes, sir.
Because I saw one green spot, I think within my district of West Ashley, and I wondered why we weren't looking at more of those in West Ashley.
And
yeah, it's not just the peninsula. These are the storm drains throughout the city. And it may not be a complete data layer. And Robert would know a little bit more about that, its current status. But yeah, it's not intended to be just the peninsula.
I know, but I just saw one green spot.
Well, we just started. Maybe Dan can offer a little explanation. Dan?
Yes, sir. This week, Councilman, we just started this process.
Right.
With the initiative of trying to, bringing our employees back to do, productive things. I've volunteered several employees to Stormwater and Public Service to assist. This, the Stormwater Storm Drain Initiative, we started this last week. It's a learning curve. I've actually got, we started with just one officer. I had two from Wednesday to Friday. And next week I'll have 5 dedicated that we can start expanding to West Ashley, James and Johns Island and other areas. So this has been a learning curve for us to figure out how to best do it and use best practices with it. But no, we're not leaving you out. I live West Ashley too. And I know it's the one dot. And I can assure you that come next week, you'll see more dots in West Ashley and James and Johns Island and Daniel Island.
I appreciate that. And you know why I asked that question, because I think, and I know the city took on the peninsula, took a heavy hit, but my phone was ringing off the hook all last night with several areas. And so, and I know this was a sort of a pilot program we started, and I'm appreciative that you're going to look at several areas in West Ashley. And if you need some suggestions, I've got a couple ideas for y'all too.
I know you do. No, you do.
And we should clarify, it's just drains, not ditches, right?
I understand
Mr. Mayor?
I've got several drains that need attention.
Right, but for the public, because out
Yeah.
here on James Island, the majority of our drainage system are still open ditches. So we're not sending livability people out to clean those. Those are
Right.
Stormwater Department maintenance program.
This is-
Correct.
They can come over to my house.
They can come to mine.
I'll be there tomorrow.
But
Mayor,
excuse me, Dan.
Councilmember Gregory?
Yeah, I mean, we had terrible rains last night, of course, but there was some work done on Grove Street between 10th and 11th by Charleston Waterworks. And they left mounds and mounds and mounds of mud. And most of that is gone now, and it went down in the drains. So if we can take a look at the corner of 10th and Grove, at those two drains where most of that soil went, just to see whether or not it's still clear, because that corner was like lakefront property.
Yes,
last
sir.
night. So if you can take a look at that. And then I had a question for the mayor.
Yes, sir.
With regard to the testing for the homeless population.
Yes, sir.
What test is it? Is it the antibody test, or is it the
No,
test
it's
for
not
the
an
virus?
antibody test. It's just to see if the tests that have been going on for some weeks now, just to determine whether you have the virus or not.
Thank you.
Yeah. But Councilmember Gregory,
Yes.
I don't know if you intended, but a few minutes ago, your video came on for just a split second, and I did see your Corona beard.
You,
Oh,
you got
please share. Please share. Come on.
I know you got
Are you ready for a public display for the rest of the council?
Not yet.
It's like, y'all, it's like my hair. It's very great.
Yes,
I
Mr.
told him
Mayor.
yesterday I'm going to do the drive by his house. Just spot.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is Councilman Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I know that we had a whole lot of rain last night, and what I did, I went out as far as I could go and I took pictures, and I think I forwarded you some of the pictures
Yes, sir.
about Hugh G and King, and as far as Line and King, and that was blocked in. So everybody was blocked in that whole area from James Simmons School, anyway between King and meeting on Hugh G Street, from King and Rutledge, on Hugh G, between King and Rutledge, all the way down to Line Street. So, I mean, I know we all are having problem with the drainage, but they can see how bad that was. And that water on King Street was over 4 feet deep.
Yes, sir.
And the firemen, they went out and saw a car was stranded there. So they pulled up as far as they could go and checked it out. 2 firemen went out to check to see if anybody was stranded in those cars. I think, but they came back and said everybody was all right. But they didn't even go through the water. They had to back to Congress Street and turn around and go back around because that water was deep. So if anyone want to see some deep water when it rains like that, they just got to come over and they can check it out. They'll see really what deep water is when you get to that point. Even on Garden Street, they'll see some deep water. And they're 4 feet deep. They're 4 feet deep.
That was a true rain bomb last night. Councilmember Rappel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Believe it or not, we also got some rain over in District 11 last night, but I wanted to give a special shout out to our Public Works Department, Tom and Matt, for getting the street sweepers out in South Windermere and some other neighborhoods in my district. I know that residents greatly appreciated that. Also, I think a knuckle boom was in the area picking up some debris, and you know, we can do a lot on stormwater with maintenance and proactive improvements. But at the end of the day, and I've been telling my constituents this because I think it's the truth. You get 6-7 inches of rain in a couple hours, any system's going to be overloaded, especially when it's at a high tide. That's the other thing that made this so impactful last night. So I think most people understand that we're doing the best we can with limited resources. But you know, sometimes it's not about what happens; it's about how you respond to it. And I think the city responded tremendously this morning in District 11. I just wanted to thank everybody, the mayor included, of course, for helping to coordinate that. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Councilmember Brady.
Yeah, first, I just wanted to apologize for being late. As Councilmember Jackson can attest, I've had some internet issues based on our human resources meeting. So I wanted to let Vanessa know I did in fact make it.
Okay.
And then if we hadn't already, I wanted to wish Councilmember Griffin a very happy birthday this weekend.
Ah, where's Councilmember Griffin?
I don't know.
There he is.
Shaved my mustache off.
Uh-oh.
He's left to go celebrate.
I don't think you have your celebration shirt on to me. It looks like a party shirt.
You don't like.
So did you just shave during this meeting?
Yeah.
It looks that way.
That's why he had the video off.
I was getting ready for tonight.
All right. Looking
Councilmember
good,
Griffin.
council member, looking good.
You know Club Trio is closed, right?
Yeah, but it's Club Griffin tonight at my house. Just me.
Oh, nice.
Me and some nice music.
Okay. Remember your social.
Keep it down to 10 people.
It's just me. There's nobody else.
Yeah, right.
We should say happy birthday. Come on.
Happy birthday, Councilman.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy
Yes,
birthday.
happy
Eric.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
I thought I was going to get away with it, but Councilmember Brady got me. I'm the one who likes to sing to y'all. I don't like birthdays or recognitions and stuff.
Well,
Not
we
too
can say,
bad.
let's do it. Happy
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harry.
Happy
birthday to
you.
Amen.
And many more.
Many more quickly.
That was so beautiful. And because the timing is off on everybody's computer, it was angelic almost. 25 is a big year. So I know
Wow. Yeah.
y'all remember that year.
Yep.
Hopefully it's going to be a good one. And
Barely, but yes.
I don't remember being 25.
I'm excited that I get to spend it with you guys. So thank y'all for allowing me to be a part of this with you.
A quarter of a century?
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
That's
right,
when I
any
started to feel old.
Any other questions, business comments come before us? Hearing none, y'all have a
Mr. Mayor.
great,
Mr. Mayor.
Jackson, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I just had a thought since we're all on the same meeting together. I was wondering if you could tell us what you may or may not be doing to respond to some of the advocacy groups who are encouraging us to ask the Army Corps to extend the public comment period for the Peninsula Report. Do you have any thoughts about that, or have you tried, or do you think it's not wise of us? Could you just sort of speak to that question? Because we're getting a lot of, advocacy response to that.
Yeah. So, their normal schedule that had been shared with us from the very beginning of this, that there would be a 30-day public engagement period. Upon conversation with the city, they agreed to double that to 60 days. I think we can do all the virtual engagement that we possibly can. There's a hope on my part that before that 60 days is up, if we properly space it and we're at that point with coronavirus, that we'll be able to have a few physical public engagement sessions, not properly distanced and all like that. But, typically the Corps will do like the Department of Transportation does. And when they have a physical gathering, they'll have multiple stations separated in various parts of a big room. And so I'm hopeful we'll be able to do that. If we're not, by the end of the 60 days, I will join the Coastal Conservation League and others and ask for an extension of the engagement period. So let's see how it goes over the next 30, 45 days. And if we need the extension, if we feel like we need it at day 40 or 45 or so, I'll be right in line asking for an extension,
And also, Mayor, would you speak to the next phase? Because I think, I mean, I know I've had conversations with the leaders of Conservation League in particular. So I know that they're pretty adamant about wanting, wanting the opening public comment that is coordinated by the Army Corps to be extended beyond 60 days. But let's assume for the minute that it's not. After that, we will have our own public engagement. So can you speak to that in terms of assuring the public that that's not the end of the public process to give us input for the rest of the year?
So let me ask that further detail of this will be coming Monday and Tuesday at Public Works Committee and at City Council. We'll have Mark Wilbert give a more full report. But, until this council decides over a year from now as to whether we're moving forward, we will all be involved in public engagement on this matter, in my opinion, up till the point where we make a decision on it.
I think that's the important message. Thank you. That's the important message. I'm glad to know we're going to have more full briefing next week. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Councilmember Shade, did you want to?
No, Mayor, I just wanted to interject, and you said it, that I asked for that particular item to be added to the Public Works agenda for Monday's discussion.
So Mark is planning on being at Public Works meeting on Monday at 4. If anybody wants to join, we'll have this discussion about this in a little more detail. And of course, we'll bring that forward Tuesday. And speaking of which, kind of like we did last week or whenever, rather than meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, next week, I would propose, since we have a regular council meeting on Tuesday, that we just meet Tuesday and Thursday, if that's okay with everyone.
No objection from me.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor,
y'all,
Mr. Mayor,
Gregory,
and any neighborhood requests from Mark to come and do a debriefing, because Wagner Terrace is already requesting one. Just go directly to Mark.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. He's willing to go on the road.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, we got to do it distance and virtual until we are able to say we can, get together.
Our meetings are now virtual.
Yeah. No,
okay.
We'd be happy to attend.
All right.
Great. All right. Well, y'all have a great weekend. Thanks to everybody for everything everybody's doing. The staff, I don't have to say it. Y'all know they're an incredible team to work with and are doing so much beyond the call of duty, serving our city and our citizens during this time. My hat's off to them. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Stay safe.
You too. Stay safe.
See ya. Bye.
Good, Harry.
Happy birthday.
That's right.
Be well, everybody.
Happy
Bye.
birthday.
Bye.